All right, this is Adam for Raw 12:51 AM. I'm here with Jay Willegoose Esquire from the band Public Service Broadcasting here backstage in the Warwick Arts Centre. First of all, welcome. You haven't been here before, I believe?
Thank you. No, we haven't been here, and we haven't actually been in sort of the wider Coventry area for many years now. I think the first time was the last time was sort of early 2013, so I think it feels like about 4 years now, yeah.
What do you think of the venue?
I've only seen it for about a minute.
Okay.
I've only just rolled off the tour bus, but yeah, it's the only one on this tour that's seated, so it's going to be a bit different, I think. The atmosphere is never quite as lively, which is always. I think you just need to accept that and sort of just try and work that to your strengths. But yeah, it should be a good show. It's sold out. The atmosphere should be good in the room, hopefully.
Lovely. So we could talk about your latest album. Obviously, Every Valley came out earlier this year. This, along with Race for Space, is it's a narrative about one set of a historical period, whereas the debut, IEE, wasn't as such. Do you prefer having an album dedicated to a specific period, or the scattered that we've seen in the first one?
I think it works better when it all hangs together better as a concept. I think the first album was more maybe using the band as a concept and showing the sort of a range of interests, I guess, and just the way that the first songs came together. It was just kind of taking this from there and this from there and sort of piecing it all together. And those are the songs we had at the time. But the War Room, a lot of the songs on that were actually newer than the album that followed. So really, it feels to me like the very first thing we did really was the first album, and then the EP and the two albums that followed that have all been made in the same way, which is writing about one topic, writing it in sequence, making the research and the narrative much more a central part of it. I think it's more satisfying and more rewarding that way.
Definitely. I recently watched your TED Talk that you did.
Oh, God.
I really enjoyed it. And in it you said that live music should be able to go wrong and it should be able to go off the rails. And I kind of wanted to flip this around you, because you're meticulous in setting out these kind of rules where everything, as much as possible, is live. If I flip this around on you, I want to ask you, what goes into an audience to make them the best sort of experience for you on stage?
Crowds are so weird. They're so weird. Sometimes you can be so sure that a venue in a particular place, because last time it was great, and you'll be so sure it's going to be great, and you just don't feel the energy for whatever reason, and you never know if it's because of something that you're doing or just because of the people who are in the crowd that night. And sometimes it feels like the right kind of blend of people in the room to get a certain reaction from them, and other times it feels a bit more subdued. But I think, I think we're hopefully a bit more experienced now to know that when you're not kind of getting a massive kind of reaction from a crowd, not necessarily to start panicking about that and trying to force things, because they can be enjoying it just in a more muted kind of reserved way, I suppose. And that's how I watch gigs, so I can't really complain if crowds do that for us. So and just have faith that you'll kind of get there in the end, and by the end of the show, you'll have kind of hit the same spot. It's just others seem to kind of hit that spot earlier and stay there for the whole show.
Cool. So obviously the band has a huge relationship with the concept of history. What can music do for history that other mediums might not be able to, would you say?
I don't know. I don't know is the honest answer. I guess, maybe it can be a more kind of more appealing to certain people who might not kind of sit down and want to watch a documentary, like a full-fledged documentary, or want to watch a film or listen to the radio, I guess. But I think it kind of is very good at kind of offering a snapshot and offering, in terms of sort of an emotional reaction to events. It's music is one of the most pure art forms, I think, in terms of the emotional reaction and the emotional connection between the writer and the music in the first place, and then the audience and the music sort of on the other side of that equation. And I think maybe you can be a bit more kind of expressive and a bit more abstract and a bit less kind of held to traditional storytelling ways with something like what we do.
Definitely. So I kind of based on that then, where is the boundary for you between song and history? Are you playing for the historian in the audience, or do you feel like you have a responsibility to relay an accurate history?
Well, yeah, you've always got a duty to the subject that you're covering to cover it in a fair and an honest and representative manner, and that was certainly something that we felt particularly strongly on the recent album. But on the other side of that, I think the music is always going to be what takes priority with us, because the music has to be strong enough to kind of carry the rest of it. It's the foundation on which you're kind of building everything else on top of. So, you know, if you're doing incredibly earnest and sort of accurate music, historical sort of recreations of a sort, I suppose, it doesn't really matter if nobody enjoys the music or if it doesn't have a kind of melodic or accessible kind of nature to it. So I think that's the bit that's hardest to get right anyway. And I'm sure many people would argue that we don't get it right, but that's the bit that I think we do work the hardest on, making sure that it's, you know, that's got to be the bedrock that supports everything else.
Lovely. So we did talk about audiences a little bit earlier. What I want to ask you is, you have a very ranged demographic. On one side of the spectrum, you can play and people enjoy it, from kind of festival dancers right up to the other end with people just sitting in a theatre seat and, like tonight, just willing to appreciate it from there. Why do you think it's such a universal demographic, and did you kind of set out to achieve this when you began?
No, I mean, you know, I was just doing it for my own amusement at first, and I was taking elements and items from bands and acts who I really, you know, I enjoyed seeing and thinking, you know, what could I do that would be an interesting and fun live show, and that might, you know, some of my friends might actually come to and enjoy for once, rather than, you know, the stuff I'd subjected them to in the past. And so that's where it kind of came from, I guess. I've forgotten the question now. I've waffled on too much.
Why do you think the demographic is so...
why is the demographic so big? I don't know. I guess the historical nature of it, and the fact that it's kind of got a narrative hook, you know, kind of broadens the scope of it a bit. I think conceptually, you know, the way it all hangs together and the way it is so strong from a conceptual point of view is reminiscent for some people of the way music was in the 70s, maybe, and how, you know, a lot of prog rock bands. I don't listen to prog rock, and I don't really have much time for it, but I know a lot of our fans do. Mm-hmm. This is a weird kind of crossover, but I think maybe that kind of, you know, the more theatrical style of some nature, some elements of it, lends itself to that kind of audience. But at the same time, you know, it is a show that's designed to work at festivals and designed to sort of, even with a subject as serious as the one we've just covered, it's designed to kind of be enjoyable on a superficial level, right, as much as anything, really. And if you want to kind of delve a bit deeper, then hopefully that's where the really rewarding aspect of it comes in.
Lovely. So to finish off, I guess it's a bit of a cheeky question, but are there any hints or directions towards the next album yet?
No. Well, yeah, I know what it is, I think, but no, we we don't really talk about it until we're ready. So
no problem.
Yeah, I can't really even think about it at the moment, because it just looks like this enormous looming wall of work that I have no idea how to tackle. But yeah, I need to recharge the batteries first, I think. Well,
I'm excited for it nonetheless, and I'm also excited for the show tonight. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And good luck with the rest of the tour.
Cheers.
Thank you.